The Ontario Provincial Police releases its own report on missing and murdered Indigenous people. North Korea's Supreme Court sentences a Canadian pastor to life in prison with hard labor.
Today the wait is over. Beer is here.
Some grocery stores in Ontario are now licensed to begin selling six-packs and single cans of beer. Hi, and welcome to Humber News. I'm Dominic Loscawa coming to you from our newsroom here at Humber College North Campus. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is seeking a formal apology from Pope Francis for the role of the Roman Catholic Church in residential schools. This comes a day after the final report of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was released in Ottawa. Meanwhile, in Ontario, the OPP has released its own report on missing and murdered Indigenous people. Our reporter, Nicole Williams, has that story.
Justin Trudeau is wasting no time in fulfilling his campaign promise to launch an official investigation into missing and murdered women. Today, the OPP is now announcing their own report on the missing women in their own jurisdiction. The report covers cases from the past 60 years. 8 cases of murdered women remain unsolved, and of more than 100 men murdered, 1 remains open. Commissioner Hawke says that the report, in addition to closing unsolved cases, is about repairing the relationship between the OPP and the Indigenous peoples of Ontario.
How do we deal with issues in First Nations communities? And that's where our enhancement of our Native awareness training comes in. We've been in a position to as a result of IPRWASH, to really open our eyes to what's needed. And our officers need to understand the culture.
Chief Day was quick to remind the OPP and the public of the mistrust and lack of confidence that the Indigenous communities have towards police.
And, we need to address racism point blank, and I think it's going to take a lot of work.
Deputy Chief Stonefish says that for her people, the report is about humanizing the victims.
We want to compel everyone to ask themselves a very important question. Who is she?
The OPP say that they know that this is just a first step in repairing the relationship between them and Indigenous peoples. Their hope is that this report will open up the lines of communication that were before now closed. Nicole Williams, Humber News.
Senator Mike Duffy is in court again today. Duffy testified that he never lobbied to become a senator. He told the court it would be crass to ask a prime minister for a Senate position. Duffy is being cross-examined by the Crown prosecutor today. He's attempting to cast doubt on the reliability of Duffy's previous testimony. He has pleaded not guilty to 31 charges of fraud, breach of trust, and bribery related to expenses he claimed as a senator. A Toronto pastor has been sentenced to life in prison with hard labor by North Korea's Supreme Court. Hyun Soon Lim was convicted for crimes against the state. Lim was arrested in February during what his church says was an annual humanitarian mission. He is a pastor at the Light Korean Presbyterian Church in Toronto, one of the biggest in the city. Lim appeared in court today for trial that lasted just 90 minutes. He was convicted for 4 counts, including the use of religion to destroy the North Korean system. Ottawa says the sentence is unduly harsh considering Lim's age and health. Toronto police have arrested a man in connection with the city's latest stabbing. It happened around Yonge and Gerrard last night. 39-year-old Mark Ernstine was killed after being stabbed near Ryerson University. Officers and paramedics rushed to the scene at about 9:30, but the man died in hospital. A 21-year-old was expected to appear in court today, charged with second-degree murder. Police say Ernstine was stabbed multiple times when he was out for an evening walk. He was a biomedical engineer working on a cure for pancreatic cancer. And the woman arrested in connection with a random drugstore stabbing is set to appear in court today. 40-year-old Rohini Besisar has been charged with attempted murder, aggravated assault, and carried a concealed weapon. Police arrested her after stabbing at a Shoppers Drug Mart in the financial district late last week. The victim of the attack is still in grave condition. Change is coming for beer lovers, just in time for the holidays. Many Ontarian grocery stores, like Loblaws, have begun selling beer, but only during certain times of the day. 20% of the beer in stores will be reserved for craft breweries. The rest of the space will be occupied by bestsellers and seasonal selections. By May, 150 stores across Ontario will have beer on their shelves. Grocers will carry only singles and six-packs and do not currently serve refrigerated packs. More than 200 Syrian refugees have touched down in Toronto. The refugees landed at Pearson International Airport yesterday. This is the third flight paid for and organized by the government as part of its program to bring 25,000 Syrians to Canada by early next year. The refugees will be settled across the country. Americans are still months away from their first primary votes, but Republican presidential candidates gathered last night for the final debate of 2015.
To run for president.
I know you're a tough guy, Jeb.
And we need to have a leader that is principled.
Tough.
You're never going to be president of the United States by insulting your way to the presidency.
Let's see, I'm at 42 and you're at 3, so far I'm doing better.
Doesn't matter.
So far I'm doing better.
Tempers flared between Donald Trump and Jeb Bush throughout the night. Pundits say Bush's performance will renew confidence in his donors. Meanwhile, a new rivalry is developing between Senators Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. They're in a tight race for second in the polls behind Trump. The final Republican debate before the Iowa caucus will be in January. If you have a question for Justin Trudeau, now's the time to ask. At this hour, the Prime Minister is being grilled at a televised town hall hosted by national magazine Maclean's. But the most important question has already been answered.
Name of my first pet, Smokey, and we lived on Sussex.
To preview today's event, Trudeau took Maclean's 60-second challenge, answering as many questions as possible in a minute. Trudeau revealed the best gift he's ever given, his favorite French word, and his second favorite Justin. Maclean's is promising that today's questions would be more serious. Photojournalism at its finest. Reuters has released a slideshow of its best pictures of 2015. Many pics include photos of refugees fleeing war zones and humanitarian. When we come back, we'll tell you what's happening in the world of sports, and Alex and Laura will have your full 3-day forecast.
Well, let me tell you something. The weather outside is frightful.
It is. It's cloudy, and we'll be seeing periods of drizzy.
I know when that hotline blink, that can only mean one thing. I know when that hotline blink.
What?
Sorry?
Oh, our bad. Apparently there will be periods of drizzle.
We'll have your full 3-day forecast after the break.
But first, in a galaxy not so far away, the wait for Star Wars: The Force Awakens is over. The reviews are coming in, but there's a way to hide all those spoilers.
The Force, it's calling to you.
Force Block is a Google Chrome extension that blocks pages that may contain spoilers. The extension uses smart pattern detections and has pop-up ads to warn users. Opening weekend is expected to reel in anywhere between $180 and $220 million. Patience you must have, young Padawans. The Force Awakens will be premiering this Friday, December 18th.